The Austin Office of Police Oversight is being forced to roll back some of its accountability efforts after an arbitrator found the watchdog agency overstepped its power.
Yeah, the ruling, which came after complaints by police, places a new focus on how the city investigates and disciplines officers accused of wrongdoing. The KVUE defenders have been investigating what happens now. Here's senior reporter Tony Ploheski.
A key issue here is how both sides interpret a labor contract between them. The city taking the position that it can enact policies and procedures as long as they're not prohibited by the contract, but the police union saying that instead the city must strictly follow what's in the document.
In the aftermath of George Floyd's murder in Minneapolis, an unprecedented protest here at home, the 3-year-old Austin Office of Police Oversight flexed its muscle.
We're not willing to entertain that verbiage.
The new police watchdog office resulted from tense negotiations between the city and the Austin Police Union in 2018 before both sides reached an agreement about how the agency would monitor APD.
They have trampled officers' rights left and right.
But in the 2 years since, police contend that the office has repeatedly overreached its authority, sparking multiple grievances against the office and the city by the union.
If you have a contract, you have to follow it. And if you don't follow it, there are consequences.
The contract says the purpose of the oversight office is to, quote, assure timely, fair, impartial, and objective administrative review of complaints against police officers while protecting the individual rights of officers and civilians. The union complained that rather than strictly allowing APD Internal Affairs to investigate a misconduct complaint, the Oversight Office did its own investigation and went so far as to demand that Internal Affairs investigators ask certain questions when interviewing officers. Late last month, an outside arbitrator agreed with the union, issuing a blistering rebuke of the city and the Office of Police Oversight, and limiting its authority to what is specifically spelled out in the contract. According to the arbitrator's December 28th opinion, the office must no longer investigate complaints, interview or contact witnesses, follow up on complaints, change, modify, edit, or add suggestions to internal affairs questions, or demand a question be asked in an interview rather than letting the internal affairs sergeant use his or her discretion as to what questions will be asked. The opinion disappointed activists who have long contended that Austin needs a stronger, not weaker, Office of Police Accountability.
I found it very unfortunate.
Chris Harris represents the Austin Justice Coalition and said he thinks police are carrying out a strategy to diminish the power of their watchdog.
I think the idea is one, to weaken the office and again keep officers continuing to not face consequence for their misconduct or brutality.
Union President Ken Cassidy says officers understand the need for outside scrutiny. Austin had a form of civilian oversight for about 2 decades before it was renamed and redesigned in the current police contract.
It's always good to have someone looking over your shoulder to make sure that the citizens are treated fairly and the cops are treated fairly. And I think that's the process that we've had for the past 20 years that's been blown up by this Office of Police Oversight over the past 2 years.
But reformers like Harris say he and others will keep pushing for the agency to have sharper teeth in the future.
We want an agency that's there to ensure that police misconduct and brutality face the light of day and appropriate levels of discipline such that there is a real deterrent within the police office, the police department, to committing misconduct and brutality against the people of Austin.
What happens next? Well, the city said it will abide by the arbitrator's opinion and remains committed to civilian oversight of the Austin Police Department. Later this month, the police union and the city will return to the negotiating table to draft a new contract. And once again, civilian oversight is expected to be a contentious issue. Those negotiations could last months or even longer. For the KVUE Defenders, Tony Ploheski, KVUE News.